Well, many thanks indeed for staying with us here on The Morning Brief. Let's get to unpack our very first conversation this morning, Nigerians, because this concerns you, it concerns your household, and of course concerns the entire country, Nigeria, the PENGASSAN strike. And of course, we're joined this morning by two gentlemen indeed, because they have been around for quite some time now. From our Abuja studios, we have Professor Ken Ife, who is an economist and also understand is a spokesperson for Dangote Group. He joins us live from the nation's capital this morning, right here in our Lagos studios. We also have Mr. Brown Ogbeifun, who is the former president of PENGASSAN. Thank you so much indeed for agreeing to come on the show. Let's begin.
Thank you for having me.
Let's begin the conversation with you, because you're here and you represent PENGASSAN. You've worked there for many years. I mean, and all of that. Justify to Nigerians why this nationwide strike is essential. Thank you.
Yes, I was PENGASSAN president, 2003 to 2005. But it would be wrong to say that I'm working for PENGASSAN. I'm in Nigeria. Right there.
But somehow you don't represent the interests
of Nigerian workers, all right, which I still continue to do. First, I want to start this way. They said if the owl cried yesterday and the baby died in the night, our old people in the village will ascribe the death of that child to the owl that cried. All right? That's the local parlance. It is not a matter of justifying what PENGASSAN has done. It's about asking ourselves which way forward. I can't undo what PENGASSAN has done. I can't also undo what Dangote organization has done. But however, I'm becoming an elder statesman too. I should be able to talk to both of them to say, what can we do better? What I heard was that there was a reorganization in Dangote refinery that led to the sack of 800 workers. The question is, why now? Why after unionization? That's the main question. And I want to posit this question to an answer that might have provoked PENGASSAN to behave the way they have behaved. Though I am not too sure of what the state of the oil and gas is as at this morning, whether the threat was carried out or not. Dangote organization is known to be unfriendly to unionization. And I'm going to give you examples before I come down to your question, which might have also provoked the fear, because they say Dangote refinery was afraid of certain things. That was why they took the decisions they took. Sometimes ago, in his cement company, food and beverage staff, those who service them, who cooked for them, who also service them in their plant at Obajana, got unionized. They went to a primary school, unionized themselves, and informed their national association, fucked up, that this is what they have. And then they now informed the organization that the food and beverage had organized themselves into a union. Because, like we know, you and I know, it is a voluntary endeavor for me to contract into the union or not. All right? For the junior staff, I think Justice Kayab has, dealt with that in so many pronunciations. That for the junior staff, it is a given that they are part of the endeavor because for so many reasons. So what now happened to those people who unionized? Dangote organization congratulated them and that they were ready to work with them. But however, because maybe some of the management staff were not on ground, they couldn't, do the normal introduction between management and the union. Shortly afterwards, those guys were fired. So this is not the first time that is happening. That's what I want to call your mind to.
So they were fired for
joining, of course,
union.
It was after that unionization of the people. Remember that food and beverage I just mentioned, that they were fired. So this now has happened. Could it be that PENGASSAN was also, egged by that happened. And the question is, why only those who have voluntarily opted for the union that were swept with the so-called reorganization? And when that thing happened to those union leaders who had joined the union, the first of court instance was not happy with Dangote Group as a dial and asked Dangote Group to reinstate the workers. They went to appeal. It was restated.
All right.
But of course, the lawyers to Dangote Group as at that time began to do forum shopping on who, a judge that can help them now vitiate whatever has happened. So it means that the rule of law, it's a private business organization, but they need to auto-act it. If those guys were not unionized at a point, that's understood.
Are you saying categorically that some staff who joined unions, either Nupeng or PENGASSAN, were sacked by Dangote refinery?
But that's exactly what had just happened.
800 staff.
800 staff.
But Dangote has since denied it.
No, but whether he denied it or not,
okay.
That's what Dangote has said. But like you talked about PENGASSAN, I have also reached them. There was an agreement, there was an MOU that you will allow them to unionize. They went, the people contracted in writing, formally. They did a verification exercise according to the information I had.
All right.
Okay.
It was after that time the reorganization happened.
Let's take it to Professor Ken Ife now. Professor Ife, you've heard some of the things that the PENGASSAN former president has said. Would like you to react to it very quickly.
Yeah, I have to come to that. You see, first of all, the contentions were quite a few. One is that the unionization and workers' rights were being opposed by Dangote. That is not true, because Dangote came out to say we support workers' rights to unionization, but those rights are voluntary. And then it's very, very clear, and nobody contests that. You see, the second one, of course, is that Dangote is embarking on anti-labor practices. They've also denied those, and we haven't got any evidence that they were selectively targeting those who were and restraining them from joining. They don't exist, because there are always two. It takes two to tango. They put their own case against your case, and we have to give them the benefit of the doubt. And then also now it comes to mass retrenching. Look, I don't know about any labor law in the world where you have democracy and you have free market, where employers are denied the rights to hire and fire. And I don't know one where unions decide who gets hired and who gets fired. No, the law recognizes these unions are children of the law, and you cannot live above the law. Where you protect the rights of your workers, your members, and then you fight for their rights. You go to court. If you have any issue of anything, go to the industrial court. That is your first port of call. You don't take the laws into your hands. Honestly, you don't take the laws into your hands. There is a history that my colleague has just pointed to. Yeah, I can hear you. But there is also a history that in our country in 2007, a consortium that have offered 750 million to buy Kaduna and Borako refineries was accepted, and then it was vehemently opposed by Nupeng and PENGASSAN, to the point that Biadadua came in and gave them back their money. Now we regret those. We regret those because if they have allowed them to buy these two refineries, they wouldn't even have spent up to $3 billion to get them working. Today you have seen how we have failed as a nation just because of what happened. And it was because it was a government business. They felt that they can dictate for the country because it's a government business. But we are not in that era now. We have private sector that have come on stream and want to salvage this country. So my advice to the labor is don't join a fight you cannot win. Don't try to destroy a refinery that is systemic, that is strategic, that protects national interest. You can't do that. Our foreign direct investment has melted away. I don't even think we'll get up to $2 billion this year, as against $20 billion that we. Now you scared all of them away, and we have a history. Even the $10 billion that NNPC has collected to do refinery for 10 years, came to nothing. They collected 3.5 billion by securitization of our 5-year revenue and put it on offer, and they have not produced anything. These finalists are not producing, they are shut down. So let us be realistic.
Yes, Professor Kenny,
let's be realistic.
Yes, I totally agree with you to some extent. So, I mean, you don't have any problems at all about the timing of this reorganization, relieving 800 workers of their jobs?
No, I don't think so. I mean, the company has spoken their own side of the story. I have no reason to doubt them. They are at liberty to hire, they are at liberty to fire, and you are at liberty to make sure that you get the compensations. And then, in fact, the first thing the union should do is to go and engage with them to see whether there are middle grounds. You go and engage. You don't take a back seat and say you can't do this, you cannot hire for a private sector.
All right.
They have the right under the law. And then the requirement is, what is it that they are owing them, and they are governed by contracts.
All right.
Even if you don't have a contract, the law recognizes, because employment is a statutory regulation.
Yes.
The law recognizes that once you pay salary, there is a contract that is created. So you go and pursue the terms of that contract if you don't want to negotiate.
Yes.
You don't bring the whole country to their knees.
Yes,
don't do that.
Professor Kenny,
you don't equate 800 workers to 230 million Nigerians. You don't equate 800 workers to 42 million employees in this employers in this country, and you don't allow this country to bleed 14.5 billion every day for salaries of workers that, I mean, this is talking about 14 times more salaries.
I was just going to ask you about that. Professor Kenny, I was just going to ask you about that. But let's get this right. The life of an average Nigerian matters. I mean, I know you're equating it to 230, but we have to also place some sort of dignity for the average Nigerian, whether or not. So I know that is not perhaps justifiable, but when you look at the possible implications of this nationwide strike, the fact that, just as you've said, 14.7 billion naira as a nation, we're going to lose that on a daily basis. How concerning is that decision?
Look, if you look at if the 800,000 workers, if the 800 workers are receiving 100,000 naira a month, that will come to only 80 million or 800 million. But look at what you are going to lose in a day is equivalent to 14,000 workers. There's 14,700 workers earning 100,000 naira a month. What you are losing in one day. This hemorrhage, this country is not prepared for this scale of hemorrhage. And it is unfair. What you are destroying the jobs of these workers because you are closing the door for any further negotiation. And then what happens? You're not even going to allow other people to enter this space. And let me tell you something. Don't fight a war you cannot win.
All right.
Because you can't stop that company. It's in the free trade zone. That company can decide not to sell 1 liter of petrol to Nigeria. You cannot stop that. But it should decide it is going to do it. It's going to do it.
All right.
So let's be reasonable.
All right, Professor Ife, one thing we have established from this is that indeed there was a retrenchment, and Dangote explains it as a reorganization, and you're saying that he has a right to do so as a private employer. Let's make progress. I see you shaking your head. You have some things to say, but yes, before you react to that. It started with Dangote accusing Nupeng of introducing 50,000 naira on every truck. Nupeng denied that, and we thought that, oh, okay, the issue would go away and then there would be some form of stability. But then we also hear PENGASSAN now accusing Dangote of so many issues are having to do with workers' welfare. There was also DAPMAN, for which Dangote's colleague, Mr. Femi Otedola, spoke up early last week, saying that they should make progress and stop relying on an outdated model of preserving depots whose footprints are no longer relevant to the business. The question is, why won't the issues go away? Why are we leaving one and coming to another? Some are saying that the marketers are using the unionists as proxies against Dangote. Is that the case here?
Thank you so much. You saw me shaking my head. I was shaking my head because, yes, employer has the power to hire and fire, but it is not in the absolute. You must follow laid down procedures. I'll give an example of what happened to the same Dangote worker, one engineer Agbo, and it was Justice Elizabeth of Oji of Lagos Judicial Division that handled that case. The guy went to complain about certain things, and he was fired. And what now happened? When they got to court, the justice told them, this cannot stand because it did not follow due process and international best practice. So hiring and firing must follow due process. You are not having slaves like the Lord of Manor. No, this is a present-day generation, and you cannot therefore, wish away the dignity of workers. You must preserve their dignity, and that is what African Charter, African Charter is all about: human dignity. And I, with due respect to Prof, I respect him a lot. I've listened to him in several fora. But when you say that a life does not matter, in the union, we used to say that injury to one is injury to one, injury to all. The life of every Nigerian matters. We are not saying you cannot run your establishment. Nobody is saying that. If they did not unionize them and they did not do the verification, it would have been a different case.
So I know that before
you decide to shut down. The other?
Which one?
Unionism before the employment, or employment before the union?
When you are employed, all right, you come into an environment. Let us get it straight. It is the right of the union to organize. By labor laws, for instance, you are organized based on the economic activity of your organization, which in this case is oil and gas. And two organizations are listed and gazetted by the same federal government of Nigeria that listed PENGASSAN and NUPENG, which means somebody who is selling toothpaste, for instance, cannot wake up one day and say he wants to join PENGASSAN and NUPENG, all right? Just the same way, he cannot go to MBA to say, I want to join MBA, because there are jurisdictions for each of those. It's by law. And the law also recognizes the fact that union can approach you. This is our people. If the people say, because the law says they are entitled to voluntary contracting in. For NUPENG, like you mentioned, it is if they don't want to contract in, that's where it comes. Because for the junior workers, it is a given. I didn't say that. Justice Kai, spoke about it in his ruling. So what we are saying is, what we are seeing here today is that we are seeing an organization that has no respect for human dignity, for workers' dignity.
Were there any efforts at all to engage with Dangote Refinery?
No, I'm coming to that. I'll come to that.
Because some are asking, before you make up your mind to shut down the nation, walk us through those channels or levels of communication that you would have had.
Yes, I'll come to that because of time. I just gave you an example of what happened. Prof didn't deny it, about the people that were fired because they were in the union, in FOPTOP. All right? So what we are saying is that an organization that has no respect, as a matter of fact, I'm happy I'm here and I'm able to talk about it. It is not about PENGASSAN. It's not about NUPENG. The question is the kind of thing that happened in Dangote as he grew. I'm not talking of Aliko. Aliko is a fine man, all right? And I respect him for all he has done, especially for oil and gas. We can't wish that away. But the question is, why must Dangote organization bully everybody out of business? He did it in sugar. They did it in cement. You saw what happened to Bua in cement. But for that guy who stood up to Dangote organization, for instance, maybe cement would have been selling for about 15,000 today. Must we build a monopoly around Dangote organization? So these are the issues. I quite agree with you. Can we have a better way of resolving this issue? Oh, yes. both organizations can come together. I'm talking of PENGASSAN, I'm talking of NUPENG, and I'm also talking of Dangote Group. What we are seeing today is failure of our conflict resolution system in the country. I gave you an example, for instance, of those people that went to court, and court said reinstate them. Dangote Group refused. They went to appeal, he refused. So if there is justice, and people know that you can get justice, and that justice can be implemented, because it seems that Dangote organization is bigger than the entire country.
Yeah, but the more important question now is, does PENGASSAN have the right to just go ahead and shut down systems without first of all resorting to arbitration or legal means of trade dispute, because this borders on national security, shutting down supply of gas to Dangote refinery?
Has anybody verified that this morning? Has anybody verified that this morning? Because we don't even know whether there are...
But the president of the Trade Union Congress didn't deny that that strike was going to begin. He only reassured that he would not resort in accuse in the immediate...
He has told you that it's not going to resolve in short-term or immediate. So why can't we believe that? You don't even know whether they are discussing now in the ministry. Yeah. But Prof, like he spoke with you, did not deny that they... See, you can hire... You cannot fire arbitrarily. It must also follow due process.
Let's bring
and an organization, for instance, that does not follow the rule of law has no reason to benefit from the rule of law.
Yeah. Yes. Let's bring back Prof into the conversation. I mean, it's you're saying that Nigerians should believe the PENGASSAN president.
Oh yes.
Yeah. I'll tell you why Nigerians will not believe PENGASSAN. I'll tell you why. Well, Prof, I wonder how you respond to some of these comments. The fact that there are allegations that, I mean, Dangote, are you a monopolist or not? There's the allegation of, you know what, you're bullying others out of market. How do you respond to this?
No, listen to me. If there are monopolies in Nigeria, the first monopoly is NNPC. The second and third monopoly is NUPENG and PENGASSAN. Look, they have benefited from fraudulent practices all over the years. But let's put this aside. When you come to workers' rights and compensation, there's no company in Africa that beats Dangote in terms of the package that they give, the salaries they pay to workers, the health benefits, the housing allowances. Even after 5 years, you're entitled to go and apply for a loan to buy your own house. No country, in this country, no company in the oil and gas industry beats Dangote in all that track record.
Prof, I'm wondering how you got to know that.
A chance.
I'm wondering how you got to know about all of this, Prof.
That's the fact. That is the fact. But the position is this. I hear my colleague and I respect his view that you can hire, but I don't accept that you cannot fire without it. Look, what is at stake is if you have a contract, the contract will provide the terms for discontinuation of the service. And if you don't want to pay, you pay salaries in lieu of notice. You know, there's no question about that. When it comes to redundancy, anything can cause redundancy. It could be workers that are surplus to their requirement. It could be unforeseen circumstances. It could be the impact of technology. Even the law, Nigerian law doesn't even require the employer to state categorically why he's making people redundant. And if you even try to explain that it's because of the organization, he's even going the extra mile, you cannot destroy this country's capacity to produce and meet the needs of our country. The union can go and buy the industry, go and buy the NNPC refinery, go and start your own modular refineries. Nobody stops you. What are you doing with all the billions that you are collecting for work? Go and invest them. Go and take shares in the company that are producing, or if you don't want to start your own refinery. This is not fair. This is agonizing for no good reason. You are destroying the fabric of the economic fabric of our country. And it must not be allowed to stand. Government should proscribe this company if they don't want to do it, and then let them do it at state level. Because this is trade unionism gone mad. That's what it is. We've come to the limit.
Well, Professor Ife, why you have not particularly, spoken to the concern about Dangote having the tendency for monopolizing any industry that it goes into? Let's bring it to the former president of PENGASSAN to speak to the other concerns that you have raised about the NNPC being a major monopoly. Of course, we know that was the case for a very long time, being the sole importer of petrol. And he has said that PENGASSAN and NUPENG were the major profiteers of that system at that time. I'd like you to speak to that. And of course, I'll come back to a question I asked initially.
Thank you so much. First, I want Prof to go out of this of the room by misquoting me. I did not say they cannot fire, but I said they can fire. They cannot fire arbitrarily. They must follow the rule of law. That's what it says. All right? That's what it says. On the concerns that we've been talking about, I think we all will do well by talking to facts. NNPC being a monopoly was under government as the major shareholder. The only person or the only group that had NNPC was government. So government ran it the way it wanted. But you can no longer talk of NNPC of 2-3 years ago as the NNPC under PIA. So Prof got it wrong.
But I was going to tell you why Nigerians don't believe PENGASSAN. They don't believe PENGASSAN because PENGASSAN, some years ago, assured Nigerians that the Port Harcourt refinery, in fact, early this year, Port Harcourt refineries, and I think Kaduna refinery, that we are good to go. And now we see that we are back to where we were. That's the reason why Nigerians don't even believe and trust PENGASSAN.
Okay, thank you. I quite appreciate all that. I quite appreciate all that. But where we are today, you see, I'm a mediator par excellence. And mediation looks into the future. It does not look back. And that's why I told you that I hope that because industrial relations is on a tripod: government, employer, and the workers or the association. All right, so they should be able to sit down and say which way forward for Nigeria. And that's why I told you that it is because our conflict resolution system has failed. Something happened that led to the other things. Now the president came on air. I'm no longer the president of PENGASSAN. I can always believe him in what he says, because I believe that when I was also there, when I give my words, I keep my words. He has assured the nation. And in assuring the nation, you don't even know what they have put in place. Look, let me tell you, one thing we have always done, even during my time, is that we will tell people that under very difficult circumstances, be it strike or not, we are not going to destroy our farmland. Because we need a place to come back to when the ashes of war, settle. So I hear Prof say, people should go and farm. No. What you will have asked Prof is that, is there any organization that Dangote organization has run that has union?
Well, I think Prof has spoken to that. Prof, I want you to just speak to the fact that I know that there's a case in court between Dangote and NUPENG. What are the options you're exploring at this point? Do you also intend to take PENGASSAN to court as well? Professor Ken, I was asking, I know that there's a case in court. I know Dangote took NUPENG to court.
Okay, sorry.
I'm asking Prof, if there are plans as well to take PENGASSAN to court. I mean,
well, why not?
Because you're threatened that you're starting a war they cannot win.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
No, wait a minute. You're going to court on a day that they say they are going to bring in everybody. Look, that will take its course. There's no doubt that they will take its course. But the thing is this: the recklessness in starting this conflict, the recklessness in not respecting the lives of our country and the health of our country and the security of our country, and causing panic and mayhem. That recklessness has to be dealt with first and foremost by the president of this republic and the DSN. They have to stop this organization because they've gone out of. This is what I saw. Trade unionism has gone mad. They have to be stopped. You need time to go to court. You need to first, but the people you are talking to are not even ready to go to court. It's precipitate action. That's not acceptable. That is not the way to go. You see the former president talk about industrial relations, talk about negotiation, look about the... They're not talking about those. They want to stampede the country and put the country at risk. This country has suffered enough.
Professor Ife,
we have suffered enough, and this is not the way to go.
Professor
It's not healthy. You are stopping other people who would want to invest in this industry. You are setting a bad example. You are scaring people away, and you are driving the whole population into abject poverty. It's not necessary, and it shouldn't stand.
Professor Ife, from what you're hearing from Dangote, and this is perhaps, you know, uppermost in the minds of Nigerians, how reassuring is the remarks of the President of Trade Union Congress that the strike that they're embarking on will not affect petrol distribution and supply in the interim, that there's enough supply, domestic supply, to go around, at least for the next 1 month? From what you're hearing from Dangote, is that the case? Flowing from this strike by PENGASSAN?
Well, there's no doubt that Dangote has enough strategic reserves, but when you are downing tools and blocking gas supply, you're effectively trying to shut down the industry and then shut down the supplies and cause mayhem and chaos. That's what you are doing. So, but that is not the way to create a healthy industrial relations. That is not. And then you know there are histories. When I was doing my PhD in 1981 and 82 in UK, I saw it firsthand where Mrs. Tata engaged the coal miners. Eventually, he stopped the coal miners. And look at America. How many the car industries have been driven away to China. These are all because of reckless, irresponsible leadership of unions that don't want to respect the law and don't want to cultivate good industrial relations. They pretend to be bargaining for them. They're not, they're destroying the jobs. I want to ask you one question. Dangote may decide to use the inland waterways to carry his fuel. Are you going to stop him? To all parts of the country, are you going to stop him? He may decide to rebuild his own pipeline because the NNPC pipeline has stopped working. He can build his own pipeline. Are you going to stop him from distributing the fuel? What are you actually think you are doing? If he has $20 billion to invest in your economy where you can't even get $2 billion in FDI, you think you can just destroy that investment, and you think you can now stand in front of a moving train. It doesn't work, and it's not going to work.
Let me quickly get this through to you, sir, Mr. Gbefo. As Dangote said, Mr. Ife has reiterated that unionism has gone mad. My question to you earlier was the timeline of the occurrence of these issues. Dapman allegedly negotiating 1.5 trillion naira on subsidy with the accusations that he wants to preserve an outdated model with a depot system. Newpen coming up, you know, with its own concern as well. Dangote saying they have introduced 50,000 naira on each drug, and now PENGASSAN. Is this, a strategy, to engage in a sort of a psychological warfare against Dangote? Are they proxies for the marketers?
Thank you so much. There is no reason why anybody who is rational and objective,
maybe in 20 seconds or less, please,
will go against Dangote's business interests, especially in the refinery, because Nigeria would definitely benefit by it. All those things you have just listed is the same pattern of blackmail that Dangote organization uses. And as a matter of fact, if there is anybody that is more reckless in terms of in terms of dignity of labor, it is Dangote Group as a company.
All right. Okay, we have to leave it here because, I mean, these allegations, these accusations from both camps, and it's the fact that the average Nigerian will have to go through the weight and feel the brunt of these decisions and disputes and face-off between these two. I would like to anchor our conversation this hour with you. Thank you indeed. Former President of PENGASSAN, Mr. Bram Ogbefo, who has joined us live here from our Lagos studios. And from our Abuja studios, we've been speaking as well with Professor Ken Ife, an economist, and who have also spoken on behalf of Dangote Refinery Group. Thank you indeed, Prof, for your time.
Thank you.
This is the morning brief. We have more for you as we're counting down to Nigeria's 65th independence. And the federal government says all hands must be on deck. We'll unpack all of this on the other side of the conversation. Please stay with us.